Dr. Hyman, you just said something that really struck me, which is that every single one of us, our bodies, has an intelligent healing system built into it. And I immediately thought about the fact that, we all know instinctively that if you cut your hand, your body knows how to heal itself.
Exactly.
And so
you don't have to go to the doctor to get a prescription to heal your hand. It just knows what to do. Right?
Yeah. And so can you just expand upon that for somebody who has never considered that concept, that your body is designed, when you know how to take care of it, to heal itself? What the hell does that even mean?
It's really incredible. I mean, I literally get to be the witness to miracles every day. And people who are either wanting to just optimize their health and live a long, healthy life, or people who have end-stage diseases like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, autoimmune disease, dementia, whatever it is, ADD, depression. When you know how the body works, you can learn how to optimize its function, which is what we call it functional medicine. And then you get rid of the stuff that's impairing our ability to function properly, and you put in the stuff that the body needs to thrive. So you take out the impediments to health, you put in the ingredients to health. The body knows what to do. And that's what happened. Is there no more asthma in that story we just heard? Why is there no more pain? Why is her life totally transformed? She said, I didn't know food had anything to do with what I was feeling. Well, most people don't connect the dots between what they're doing in their life, whether it's what they're eating or the toxins they're exposed to, or the stress they're under, or the lack of sleep they're getting, or the fact that they, may not move their bodies or learn how to do all these things. They don't know how that's impacting them. They don't know how close they are to feeling good. We're literally only a few days, not weeks or months, from feeling better.
Okay, hold on. We're only a few days away from feeling better.
Yes. It's really remarkable. I take people all over the world and I put them in these groups. We do these programs around the world, and longevity programs, detox programs, and we change their diet. We move them a little bit of yoga, not like running a marathon, but just gentle exercise, some simple body practices. And within 6 days, the average person reduces their symptoms from all diseases by 70%.
Wait. What?
Yeah, I've done this so many times, and I'm like, I even shock myself, because like whether you have migraines or irritable bowel or depression or insomnia or joint pain or fatigue or brain fog, whatever the stuff you're feeling, and I call it the FLC syndrome, which means
what's FLC?
When you feel like crap. there's a more serious version of that called FLS.
Feel like shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Uh-huh. Well, and I, what's interesting is that I think about. We're constantly looking at what people DM us and what they fill out in the forms at melrobbins.com. And I've started to wonder if part of the problem is that so many of us are used to feeling like shit.
Yeah, we don't know how better we can feel. We don't have any insight because it's like you have an elephant standing on your foot your whole life. You don't know what it feels like when the element gets off until it gets off. And so then people have the insight. And it is, I've written many books about how to do this. In my new book, Young Forever, I explain how to do this. I've written a book called The 10-Day Detox Diet, which is really what I used in my patients to help reset autoimmune disease, reset the gut, turn off inflammation, and get rid of asthma, migraine, whatever it is that people are suffering from, depression. Because we know now depression is inflammation in the brain.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there because I want to go point by point by point, because I can feel. Can you just hear Dr. Hyman winding up?
He's winding up.
He is so excited. This is a 63-year-old man with a six-pack for abs, in the best shape of his life, who has just written Young Forever: The Secrets to Living Your Longest, Healthiest Life. And this is a book not about living to 170. This is a book about truly maximizing the years that you do have.
Yeah.
Being energetic, being strong, being vital, having like your presence of mind, being able to tap into the full opportunity of your life. And so I want to back up a couple steps, because we were talking about the fact that your work in functional medicine as a medical doctor, decades of work with patients, of research, the books that you've written. We are going to link to all of this, everybody. So I know people are like, whoa, what was that 10-day detox? It will be in the show notes. Don't you worry. We got you covered. But I want to back up a minute, because You talked about the fact that our bodies are designed to heal.
Yeah.
And so I want to give people a metaphor to start to think about, because you've already started talking about food, and that we don't stop and think about the fact that the environment that we live in and the things that we stick in our mouth and put into our body and the stress that we endure are all things that we can change for the better,
Yeah.
that have a material demonstrated impact on the quality of your health, to the point where if you take this seriously, within 6 days, you will feel better.
Yeah. I mean, what's so amazing, Mel, is that every cell in your body, your DNA, your microbiome, which are the bugs that live in your gut, your immune system, everything is listening to your thoughts. Everything is responding to your environment in real time. We call it the exposome. Your life is not predetermined by some genetic destiny. It's the life and the exposome, which is all the sum total of all the experiences you've had, all the toxins, all the thoughts, all the relationships, all the food you've eaten, everything, washing over your biology, creating the expression of who you are in this moment. And so that's a very empowering idea, because it doesn't just, something just didn't happen to you. You can actually be empowered to understand what those things are and change them and radically reverse your biological age, your health problems, your mental health, because the body has this incredible healing system, as we said.
Wow. Okay. So would a good metaphor, and maybe you have a better one, but I keep thinking about, like, if you think about the fact that brand new car is designed to drive.
Yeah.
Right? It needs fuel, though.
Yeah.
So if you want to take care of your car, you put in the fuel that doesn't have a bunch of crap in it, or you plug your car in, right? And you drive one of these electric cars. I think a lot about food as the fuel. And if your car drives best on electricity or gas, you would never put sand in your gas tank, because it would clog it up.
Yeah.
And so is that kind of a metaphor to get you thinking about what is it?
It's more exciting than that, because yes, food is fuel. It's energy, right?
Yeah.
You need it to, run your body.
Yep.
But there's all this other stuff in food that we've ignored besides calories, and it's the informational molecules in food. Because food is not just calories, it's information, it's instructions, it's code that upregulates your biology or downregulates it every single bite.
Wow.
It changes your gene expression, your hormones, your brain chemistry, your immune system, your microbiome. Literally everything is changed in real time by what you're eating. And it's the informational molecules, the medicinal molecules in food that are speaking to us and changing everything about how we feel. Like, most people don't connect their food and their mood.
No.
Or their food and their asthma, or their food and their irritable bowel, or their food and their migraines, or their
food and anxiety,
or anxiety, depression. I mean, I had a great story of a patient who was having horrible panic attacks.
Yes.
And this was a guy who, was kind of chubby, had a big belly. So I knew right away he was insulin resistant, pre-diabetic, and probably had big swings of blood sugar and insulin.
Okay, stop. So are you talking about that, like, pregnant belly that dudes get?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I see a dude with a big solid basketball, I'm like, beer gut. But what do you see?
Well, it's beer, because it's sugar, or it could be sugar or bread or pasta or potatoes or rice, or anything that's starchy and sugary will cause that belly fat.
So is that kind of like, how when you put yeast in bread and it ferments and it starts to rise?
Not quite.
Okay.
No, it's actually fat.
Oh, that's actually fat.
It's not just gas.
Okay.
And so this guy was telling me how he would have these horrible panic attacks. He felt like he was dying. Heart was palpitating. He was sweating. He couldn't breathe. He felt anxious. And the world's going. I said, "Wow, what happens after that?" He said, "Well, I drink a can of Coke and it goes away." And I'm like, "Oh, you have hypoglycemia, right? Your blood sugar was crashing, and when that does, so you get into a life-threatening emergency. Your body doesn't know that you can go to the grocery store and get something. You think you got to go get food immediately. So it's really anxiety and panic attacks can be caused by many things, but one of them is huge fluctuations in blood sugar, and we see this all the time.
Wow. You've talked also about self-care. What does that mean, self-care?
Yeah. So self-care is nourishing every part of yourself. So there is the physical part. So it is hard to heal and come home to yourself if you're living out of vending machines and drive-through windows.
Why?
Because your food affects your mood. And there's nothing life-giving in fake food.
Yeah.
So, as I like to say, as your grandmother would say, like, put some vegetables on that plate, put some greens on that plate. So fruit and vegetables, I like to think of, before I eat something, can I say, I'm eating this because I love myself? Then some things I won't be able to put in my body because I actually want to live. And we have it flipped where we will call those things the treat. I am treating myself by giving myself something that's killing me. So to have to flip it. And of course, in moderation, because when people hear that, they're like, do you mean I can never have, right? So and drinking water instead of all the soda, sleep is a big one. It is hard to come home to yourself when you're exhausted. You know, we are busy, and then all night people are on their phones or, up and can't sleep. And I say, if your idea, and hopefully this is okay to say.
You can say whatever you want.
Yes. If your idea of relaxing before you go to sleep is watching 3 episodes of Law and Order, I would encourage you to think about, why is trauma relaxing to me?
Oh.
That's what it is. I mean, it's harm, crime, violation, attacks, and that's what is going to soothe me into my bedtime.
So what is the answer that a lot of people give you when they do go into therapy about that connection?
Is that it's normal and familiar. Some of us grew up in high stress, so we think calmness is either fake or boring.
Wow.
Right? People mistake peace for boring. And it's like, to come home to yourself, you have to lean into the discomfort because it's going to feel unfamiliar. I was working with a client, an adult woman and her mom, and they had been disconnected because the mother dealt with addiction and didn't raise her, but they are reconnected now and living together. And the adult daughter really wanted her mom to say she loves her. And the mother just said to me, that just seems fake. So she had not grown up with that, had not heard it. To her, it's like something people do on TV. And so I said to her, if you mean it, it's not fake. It just feels like it because you're not used to saying it.
It is amazing how many people don't tell the people that they love that they love them.
Right.
And it hadn't occurred to me, it's because they never were told that themselves.
Yeah.
And that it might feel forced or not authentic.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah. And that's the importance of us learning each other's love languages, because, her response was the response of probably many of her generation, which was, you had food on the table or you have a roof over your head.
Yes. What more do you want from me?
Right. What more?
There are simple tools that you can use that act like lifelines in your life. And those tools are meaningful mantras, temporary or permanent tattoos, or there are ways that you can use even a simple Post-it note as a environmental cue. That's what a researcher calls it. You can use a simple Post-it note to act like a lifeline, to remind you that you have the power inside of you to face something. And in those moments where it really counts and you're trying to level up, that yes, you can show up in this moment and you can perform your best. And so while we're going to start with the tattoo story, which is a great story, we're going to get to a deeper topic here. And by the time you're done listening to this episode, you're going to have a phrase that you've identified that will act like a lifeline for you moving forward. And because I always say this is not just a listening podcast, it's a doing one, I'm going to ask you to do something specific. And no, it's not to go get a tattoo. So on the topic of tattoos, if you have a tattoo or you know someone who does, you know that every tattoo has a story. And mine begins just a few weeks before our 15th wedding anniversary. Can you believe this? We've been married 26 years. So this would have been 11 years ago, right? 11 years ago. Yeah, 11 years ago. 11 years ago was 2012. And Chris, let's just set the table for everybody, because 11 years ago, our life looked really different. 2012, you were still in the restaurant business. We were 800 grand in debt. We were struggling with drinking issues, and we were trying to make the ends meet.
And we thought a tattoo was going to save us.
Hey, we thought it would distract us. We decided that
No, it was our anniversary.
It was our anniversary. And so we decided that it would be cool if we got tattoos on the date of our 15th wedding anniversary. And
provided it wasn't the same tattoo.
well, see, this is the thing. I wanted to get matching tattoos. I thought it would be super cool if you and I got the exact same tattoo on our 15th wedding anniversary. And what was your response?
Never.
Yeah, I think it was no fucking way. I think you said that is so cheesy. We are bound for divorce if we get matching tattoos. We are not doing that. And so that was kind of my idea. And Chris just shot it out of the sky. Boom, not happening. And so we got.
Do you remember what my reaction was to even getting it? We had been talking about it maybe a little bit.
I don't remember. Do you remember yours?
Was it an out of the blue idea that, hey, let's do this for our anniversary, or we had talked about it before?
I think we had talked about how we both wanted to get one, and then we decided we'd get it for our 15th, and I thought we'd get matching. You said absolutely not. And then all of a sudden we went into our corners, and we were individually thinking about our tattoos. And as the date of our anniversary, August 24th, came closer and closer, and to the appointment, I started to panic because I had no idea what I wanted for my tattoo. And then all of a sudden, you guys, Chris walks into the room one day and says, I've figured out what my tattoo is going to be. Why don't you tell him the story? Because I wanted to kill you when you told me what it was going to be.
I grew up as a ski racer and was competing in races every weekend in my teenage years. And I was always that kid in the starting gate that was shaken like a leaf and worried about not the race, but the outcome. You know, I was in my head thinking about what was going to be my time and how it was going to line up. And
would it freak you out?
Yeah, it was always about the result.
Yep.
You know, the end game, if you will, for
Yep.
me. Or at least this was the observation that ultimately my dad had of me. And my dad was often at these races, and he helped me see the racing and the course a little bit differently by constantly suggesting that I just take it one gate at a time. To just, rather than think about the big picture or the end game, just one gate at a time. And along the years, my dad and I would converse about this without ever necessarily giving it a name of a philosophy, if you will. But he wrote a letter to me about it one day. And that was my my tattoo wake up call, that I decided to pull the handwriting off of a letter my dad authored about just taking things one gate at a time. And so that became my tattoo idea.
And so describe where it is and what it is.
I put this tattoo on my forearm, on my left forearm, and I didn't necessarily have a vision for having it kind of be oriented such that I could read it really easily, but ultimately it was the tattoo artist who suggested kind of the right placement of it. But it just says the word one and the word gate, one gate, written in my dad's handwriting.
It's beautiful. And so, being the shallow piece of shit that I am at times, when Chris announced that he had figured out his tattoo and that he was going to take his dead father's handwritten letter to a tattoo artist and have that tattoo artist lift those two words, one gate, in his father's handwriting and put it on his left forearm where he could see it and have as a reminder, I thought that is the best damn idea. And now I have no idea what the hell I am going to tattoo on my body. I was so pissed and so jealous that you had such a good idea. And you guys, I freaked out and stressed out until the night before we were supposed to get tattoos. The night before we were going to go into this appointment, our 15th wedding anniversary, I still had no idea what I was going to put on my body. And then luckily, a friend of ours who was one of my very first clients when I became a life coach, Deva, who owns the amazing store in Boston called Matsu. She stopped by to say hi, and we started talking about the tattoo. And I said, I have no idea what I want. She agreed. Chris's idea, that was a really good idea. Really good idea. And I
didn't know Deva was the origin of this idea for you.
Yeah. So what happened is I started saying, I don't know what to do. And she said, well, I know what it should be. And I'm like, you do? What should it be? And she said, it should say it shall be. I said, what? What do you mean it should say it shall be? She said, you say it all the time. I said, no, I don't. She said, yes, you do. I said, no, I don't. She said, Mel, you have coached me for years. You always say, if you put in the work and you hold the belief that'll happen, at some point, it shall be. I had honestly never realized that I had used that phrase when coaching other people. And as she said it in that way, it just kind of went clunk. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the words "it shall be" on the inside of my right wrist. And it'll be both a reminder to me that if I do the work, if I have faith, if I keep my head down, and if I give up my timeline, it shall be. It'll all work out. It'll be fine. And so that was that. Now, meanwhile, there's another twist to this story. Because do you remember what happened on our actual 15th wedding anniversary?
Do I ever? That's the funniest part of the whole story.
Okay, well, tell everybody.
Well, just that Mel, you were in radio at the time.
Yeah,
right?
It was when I was a radio host. So you guys, Chris was still in the restaurant business.
So
we were struggling financially.
She was doing some show in Boston, and it wasn't the tattoo artist. You had some show talking about tattoos, right?
Correct.
Throwback. And
all these people called in.
And they suggested like the best tattoo parlor in town.
Correct.
If you're going to get a tattoo, you have to go to this guy.
Yes.
And you, of course, took it upon yourself to book us the appointment, which was at that point had to have been 6 months out.
Yes, and they had a huge wait list. So you couldn't even get in until like 4 months out. We booked this thing 6 months out, you guys.
So you
put
plan
down
it
this
for
big-ass deposit.
For our anniversary.
We have a babysitter. We're going into Boston. We got our appointment. We're about to pull on the Mass Pike. And what happens?
We're pulling out of the driveway, and you're like, well, where we go? Let's get the address of this place. And then you said, well, let me just call them just to make sure, let them know we're coming. And you call them, and sure enough, the guy says, I don't know, we got you on the books for next week.
And I start pleading with him. Oh, no, you can't. We made this 6 months. No. It's next week. It's a week from today. But that's not our anniversary. I never would have screwed this up. This must be a mistake. Can you just fit us in now? No.
And we were going away. We couldn't even make the following
week.
Yeah, but
also
anyway.
The thing was it was supposed to be on the anniversary.
Right.
So now here we are with a babysitter. We have our tattoos. You've got your letter. I've got my phrase. We have no appointment. I start calling tattoo parlors because we decide, let's just head into Boston. And I'm like, how hard could this be? Do you know the first 5 or 6 tattoo parlors that I called were booked? Like no openings. I didn't know you couldn't just walk into a tattoo parlor. Who the hell is getting all these tattoos? So I finally call the 6th or 7th place. And it was a place that was right around the corner from this apartment that we used to live in Cambridge, Massachusetts, when we first moved to Boston before we had kids for you to go to graduate school. And the guy answers the phone and he says, sure, come on in. And then he says, what's the name? And I say, Mel Robbins. And he goes, you mean from WTKK, Mel Robbins? I thought I recognized this voice. I love your show. My wife's a huge fan of yours. Come on in. It turned out to be a guy that listened to my old radio show. So we drive to this place. The guy is this amazing, big, bearded teddy bear of a guy. He gives us this big old bear hug. Chris goes first because here's the next twist that happened. It had completely been lost on me that I hadn't even picked out a font or handwriting. And so I had the phrase, it shall be, but I had no idea what I wanted it to look like or how big it was going to be. So while Chris got his tattoo, I pulled up Microsoft Outlook and I started going through the font choices and ended up picking the only font that looked somewhat cool, which turned out to be something called like Zaftigs or Dabbigs or Zad. It was like a Z. Printed it out on his printer. And that became what I permanently put on my body. And I was having like doubts and second guesses, and Chris's looked so good. But I was just like, why didn't I think that I should have like thought about the font?
It looks a little bit like your handwriting though, so that's good.
It's okay. I mean, it's fine. I love my tattoo. I love my tattoo. And so I've got these sort of curved, it shall be right on my inside wrist. And big hooky things, and we'll if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it. We'll put it on the stories. And the thing that I love about this, and this is why it's so important for us to talk about meaningful mantras today, and environmental cues that you can use to help you stay steady, to help you tap into that courage and that confidence and that power that's inside of you. And over the years, I can't tell you how many times I've looked at this tattoo. And these words, it shall be, they are a lifeline for me. You know, when I think about moments where I was failing at something or life was going off the rails, I would see those words, it shall be. And I'd take a deep breath and I'd put my head down and I'd say, Mel, you just got to keep believing it's going to all work out. You got to keep putting in the work. If you're a good, kind person, it'll happen. Maybe not on your timeline, but just keep going. When times were tough, these 3 words, it shall be, reminded me that this is just a moment. And like all moments, this will pass. And now our puppy, Homie, is like wanting to go to the bathroom. It shall be. No,
but it thinking about the question that Jonathan wrote in and saying how you're so intentional in everything that you do. It was a very thoughtful question, and I would agree that your application of that in life is very pronounced, and interesting how you didn't necessarily see it like Deva saw it. And how the only thing that was not intentional about it was the scramble to get the right tattoo before the evening itself.
Well, you know what's great about this?
Actually, I shouldn't say that because you booked the appointment. We had it on the anniversary. Like we were organized. We were ready to roll. There was intentionality.
The entire story of the tattoo is a demonstration of the philosophy it shall be. Because nothing went according to plan. And yet we just took it one gate at a time. And I was fierce in my belief that it was all just going to work out. What are the odds that the appointment is on the wrong date or that the first 5 places I call are not available for appointments, but the one that is happens to be a guy that listened to my little local Saturday radio show and recognized my name and voice? Like, it's just a little bit of optimism that acts like a lifeline for me. And it reminds me that it's going to work out, that I have the power within me to face things. That's how I've been using this phrase, "it shall be," over the last 11 years, because these have not been the easiest 11 years of our life.
I would argue some of the hardest.
The hardest, for sure. I mean, when I think about the state that you were in when you left the restaurant business just 2 years after I got this tattoo, and you just checked out of life. You're like, I'm getting sober. I have to heal. I have to take care of myself. And for 2 years, you were just comatose. And I'm like in survival mode. And I would look at this, my tattoo, "it shall be," and it gave me faith that if I just kept working hard, we'd figure it out. That we'd figure out how to pay the bills, that I would figure out how to build this business, that you would figure out how to heal and find your way back to yourself and to me. And even things like moving up here to southern Vermont and how hard that was. And feeling like I've just turned my whole life upside down. And yet there was this deeper knowing that drove our decision to move and to change our life profoundly, from living outside of Boston to being in this tiny rural town. And on those days that I just felt so lost, I would look at my wrist and go, "it shall be. It's going to work out. Like, I can do this." And even with the podcast, everybody was like, "You know how crowded that is. You know how there's 5 million podcasts." I was like, you know what? I'm playing the long game. It shall be. I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to go for it. And I even feel that like when our kids are struggling, like it helps me, this phrase, "it shall be," to put almost like a beacon out in the future. It's a reminder that at some point, the road ahead is easier and great things happen. And it gives me faith to keep going.
I think the location of that tattoo is also properly aligned with you and your own just being reminded of that, right? Because if you had that tattoo on the back of your shoulder,
I'd never see it.
where you weren't seeing it all day, every day, you had always wanted to put it right, something, whatever it was you were thinking.
Well, why get a tattoo and hide it?
Right.
You know, you write so much about food, and we've already started talking about it. And in particular, I'm a huge fan of your book, The Blood Sugar Solution, which is where I think you're one of the first people to start talking about the vagus nerve and the power of the vagus nerve, which we talk about on this show constantly.
Yeah.
And the Ultra Mind Solution is a book.
Oldies but goodies.
Oh, yeah. Oldies but goodies. But listen, you know, everybody, and I'm going to have you explain it. You know, you may have heard that your gut is called the second brain.
Yeah.
But what you may not know is that during the formation of you as a human being, the same embryonic clump that forms the brain also forms the gut. And they separate, but they stay connected via neurotransmitters.
Yeah.
So I think about it like almost like goop. Like you break goop in half and it's got those stringy sections, and part of it becomes your brain and the second part becomes the gut.
Well, they call it your gut brain or your second brain.
Yes. And that they talk to each other all the time.
Completely, yeah.
And so where I want to start with this is, can you explain the connection between your gut and your gut health and your overall health? And then we're going to get into specific mental health issues that people struggle with and the gut.
Absolutely. You know, what was really amazing to me, Mel, is I began to practice functional medicine. I began to, treat people's guts. I would help their immune system get better. I'd get them on anti-inflammatory diets. And as a side effect, they would report to me that my ADD is better, my depression's gone, my panic attacks are gone, my mood is better, sleeping better. All these things, I'm like, really? What's going on here? And I began to really inquire about this process of how everything below the neck is influencing everything above the neck.
Yes.
So the subtitle of the Ultramind Solution is how to fix your broken brain by fixing your body first. Right? And what's really amazing is the microbiome is this new frontier, in addition to the understanding of the gut brain and the gut nervous system and the brain nervous system and how they're connected. And that's a real thing.
Yep.
There's constant communication. There's more
Yep.
neurotransmitters in your gut than your brain. But what's now happening is the understanding of this sea of bacteria in there that are all speaking to you every minute. And I just had talked to a scientist who was researching a particular microbe in the gut. And it's a big word. It's called Akkermansia. Don't worry about it. It's just one of the bacteria that lives
I
in
already
there.
forgot it.
Okay. And what's amazing is as they were fermenting this, growing this bacteria to put in a probiotic, which is very powerful for many things, for regulating metabolism and mood and blood sugar and everything, they discovered that this vat of the byproducts of this bacteria was something called GABA. Now, GABA is a calming neurotransmitter.
Oh.
When people take Valium, that's what it's doing. It's activating the GABA receptors in the brain to calm you down and relax you. So when you think, if you have the right bacteria in your gut, you're producing compounds and neurotransmitters that are going to your brain and making you either relaxed and calm or depressed. There's a woman at Harvard, Uma Nadu, who's studying very actively the microbiome and depression as a way to treat mental illness, fix the gut.
Wow. Okay, I want to have you define a few things for us. So you've used the word inflammation a lot.
Yeah.
What the hell does that mean?
Well, everybody knows.
Everybody does not know.
You got a sore throat, that's inflammation. You cut your finger, it gets red and pussy, that's inflammation.
Oh.
Right?
No, I've
Yeah.
never thought about it that way.
You sprain your knee, it swells up.
Well,
That's
that I
inflammation. That's inflammation.
But when you functional medicine
yes,
doctors throw
we're talking-
around the
yes.
word inflammation,
Yes.
inflammation here, I don't even know what you're talking about.
So we know that inflammation on the outside, what it looks like.
Yes.
Right? That's what I was just referring to.
Yes.
But there's inflammation on the inside.
Oh.
And it's silent inflammation. If your brain's inflamed, it doesn't get red and swollen, but you get depressed and you have ADD and you have personality issues and you can't sleep and you're anxious, right?
Oh.
So we're now understanding that the inflammation, this hidden inflammation, is occurring inside of us, and it's leading to all the diseases of Western civilization: heart disease, cancer, diabetes, dementia. The aging process itself is called inflammaging, which is one of the hallmarks of aging I talk about in Young Forever in my book. And the beautiful thing is that we now know what is driving the inflammation on the inside.
What's causing us to have inflammation on the inside?
Our gut is a big player.
Okay.
70% of our immune system's in our gut. And if we don't eat the right food, if our microbiome isn't the right bugs in there, they're nasty bugs. And we get leaky gut. And that means the body can't filter out the food and proteins from food and the bacteria in there, and you leak them across the intestinal lining, and guess what? Your immune system's right there, and it goes, holy shit, what is all this? And starts creating inflammation. So you get asthma, or you get arthritis, or you get depression, or you get diabetes, or you get dementia, because the gut bacteria and the whole system in there is broken down.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Because I think this is really important for everybody to understand. Let's back up a minute and talk about how your gut is supposed to function. So when it's functioning in the correct way, because I only learned about leaky gut because we had a daughter that struggled with disordered eating.
Yeah.
And she was constantly talking about how she felt fat. And I thought, oh my God, we have not only this issue with restriction and her not eating, but we now have body dysmorphia. And we went to see a nutritionist that was a functional, holistic nutritionist. And she came back and said, through the disordered eating, your daughter has destroyed
her gut.
Yeah. There are no positive bacteria strains. Yeah. So the food hits her gut.
Yeah.
And without positive bacteria strains, the food doesn't break down.
Yeah.
And so she does feel bloated. And then like all of this acidic crap, because the food is not digesting properly because there's no positive bacteria, all this acidic crap leaks through the wall of the gut and then goes through the nervous system, and the anxiety spikes. So this was brand new to me.
Yeah.
So can you just explain to everybody, when your gut is in balance, how is it functioning properly? Because I think that'll give everybody the ability to then understand the impact of it not functioning properly.
Well, I mean, you pretty much shouldn't know it's there. It should do its job, right? You shouldn't be
That's
bloated,
true.
distended. You shouldn't have heartburn. You shouldn't have gas. You should feel fine. You shouldn't
Really? People go through life without all that?
I mean, you can have a little gas, but it's not like, that's kind of a normal thing. But I think, if people are really noticing their gut function,
yes.
something's wrong.
Okay.
And then you just look in the toilet. You should have a perfectly formed log.
Yep.
It just floats a little bit.
Yep.
And that's it. And you should feel the urge to go, and you should go, and it should take a couple minutes, and that's it. And that is not the case for most people in
Yes.
Western civilization. There was a guy named Dennis Burkitt who studied people in Africa, and he was looking at the hunter-gatherers who'd moved to the cities and the differences in the health outcomes in these two different populations between the hunter-gatherers and the city dwellers who were the same genetically. And he found that the city dwellers had lots of heart disease and autoimmune disease and diabetes and all these Western diseases, whereas the hunter-gatherers had none. And what he noticed was that the hunter-gatherer stool weight, their size of their poop, was 2 pounds a day. The city dwellers was 4 ounces.
What?
Yeah, because of all the fiber and all the plant foods they were eating that fed the good bugs in their gut.
Meaning the people that were hunter-gatherers had a better
Diet.
Yeah, and I would
Yeah.
also imagine, and we're going to get into this, that the stressors of living in the city and the stressors of that kind of life also impacted the body functioning.
Totally. I mean, totally. And there's many pathways through which this works, but the gut or the microbiome is a huge factor. So we know now how to identify imbalances in there. We know how to test for it. We know how to treat it. Not most traditional doctors, but most functional medicine doctors, this is the focus of a lot of the way we help people is by optimizing their gut function. So that's a big cause of inflammation. The other big cause, and this is also was mediated through the gut, which is our diet. Because when we eat, we're not just feeding us. We're feeding the 1,000 critters that live down there. There's probably 10 trillion cells in there that we're feeding.
In your gut.
In your gut. And many cells in your own body. There's probably 100 times as much DNA as your own body. And probably half the metabolites in your blood come from the bacteria, not from you. And they affect everything that's going on. And if they're the bad guys, you're going to feel bad. And if they're the good guys, you're going to feel good. And so when you eat sugar and starch and processed food and artificial sweeteners and thickeners and gums and additives, they just destroy the microbiome. Plus, pesticides and glyphosate and all this stuff just kills it. And so we really have a gut crisis in this country, but we also have the food crisis. And the food crisis is really what's driving it. And I think if people understand how powerful food is, they don't really have to listen to me. I mean, you can listen to this podcast, you can listen to a million other podcasts. Just for 10 days, change your diet and see what happens. Not for a year or 10 years, but 10 days. Anybody can do anything for 10 days. And when you do that, you literally take away all the potential inflammatory foods, all the foods that are causing you to have issues, which is typically gluten, dairy, sugar, processed
So what
foods.
is the 10-day, just give us simple rules that you want everybody listening to try. This is a dare.
Let's go through a sample menu for a day, but it's basically protein and vegetables, nuts and seeds, and berries. And so
Okay, hold on. You said that very fast. Protein,
vegetables, nuts and seeds, and
nuts
berries,
and seeds and berries,
and lots of good fats, olive oil, avocados. Okay. So it's basically breakfast could be, for example, a couple of eggs with sliced tomatoes and avocado with olive oil on top. Lunch could be a big salad with lots of different veggies and tomatoes. I could throw a can of wild salmon on there.
Yep.
Put in some pumpkin seeds, just lots of good plant
Very
food.
colorful.
Very colorful. And dinner might be, some a big piece of fish or chicken or a nice small piece of meat with 3/4 of your plate should be vegetables. So
3/4 of your plate.
So
everybody.
I'll have the other night I had like a purple sweet potato. I had some roasted mushrooms. I had, I can totally have like a roasted eggplant, whatever you kind of get excited about. Broccolini, I make cruciferous vegetables every day. These are the broccoli
What did you
family.
say?
Cruciferous vegetables.
What the hell were
It's
cruciferous?
broccoli, basically. The broccoli
what does
family.
cruciferous mean?
It means broccoli, basically. Broccoli, collards, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, all those.
The fibery crap
cauliflower.
your grandmother served. Is that what you're saying?
It's this family of vegetables. It's a super family.
Got it.
Because it actually detoxes your cells. It helps prevent cancer.
Wow.
It boosts all the detox hormones molecules in your body.
So I want to stop you real quick because you posted something 2 days ago.
I did. What?
That was I'd never really thought about it this way. And it was, you'll probably say it better than me, but it was a very simple post that was like, your cells, your brain cells, like all of this stuff, your skin that all is continuing to grow, it doesn't just grow out of thin air. It actually is impacted and grows from the raw materials that you give
Yeah,
it. And so would you
yeah.
rather have cells that are made from a bag of Doritos
Exactly.
or cells made from a salad or a piece of fish? And when you boil it down that way, like, holy cow, what I put in my mouth is what I become.
Yeah, absolutely. You literally become what you eat. I mean, I just had someone on my podcast, the Doctor's Pharmacy, talking about the difference between, for example, pasture-raised bison and bison that were fed corn and feedlot bison, which are still better than
And what
cows.
lab bison?
Feedlot bison, meaning grown on a factory farm.
Okay, got it.
And they measured 15 different 100 metabolites, and what they found was so different among the same genetically identical bison. One had all these incredible molecules that come from plants because it was eating all these grasses. It had
And it
different
was
fatty
outside,
acids.
and
It
it
had
had a
different
happy
vitamins
life.
in it and different
Yep.
minerals in it. And it was just so profound. So you are what you eat, but you also are whichever you're eating it, right? And the whole thing goes up the chain. And we really have to get how powerful food is. And do an experiment. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to Mel. Listen to your own body. Your body's the smartest doctor in the room. It'll tell you what works and what doesn't. And when you stop this or that, you go, well, God, no, wait a minute. My joints don't hurt. Or wait a minute. I'm not having terrible reflux or heartburn anymore. Or I don't have migraines. What happened? Or my mood is better. What's going on? It's what you're eating.
Wow. What are the top things that people should, in this kind of 10-day window, stop eating?
I mean, anything that comes in a package, basically, I mean, if it's canned, sardines or salmon, that's fine. But basically, anything that comes in a package, can, or a box, get rid of it. If it's sugar, no. If sugar-sweetened beverages, no. Alcohol, no. And I sound like I'm a food Nazi, but what I'm saying is get rid of grains and beans for a short time, because a lot of people have inflammation from that if they have a gut issue. Grains and beans are healthy and they're good for you, but for some people they can be a problem, right? It's just like peanuts are good for people, but if some people
Well, what's the universal one? It's no gluten.
no gluten, no sugar, no dairy, no alcohol, no processed food.
Do you have any fun?
Absolutely. I have so much fun. I have so much fun every day.
I'm just kidding.
My whole life is fun. And I don't feel restricted. I don't starve myself. And the thing is, these foods are addictive, Mel. So people think, I gotta have, well, sugar. Well, can I have artificial? I know what people are thinking about. They're thinking, oh, Dr. Hyman, can I have artificial sweeteners? Or can I have,
Yes,
stevia?
stevia.
Or can I have,
Is stevia okay?
Everybody's going it through their head. And if you
Yes.
are having this inner dialogue right now, I guarantee you have biological addiction to sugar because you're trying to find a way out. I'm going to stop smoking, but I'm going to vape, or I'm going to chew Nicorette gum. Well, that's not getting rid of your addiction.
Yes.
Right? And I think it's not your fault. And this is probably one of the biggest problems I have with the narrative in America, that we are blaming the person who's overweight for their problem. It's your fault that you're eating too much and not exercising enough, because that's the solution to weight loss. It's all about calories in, calories out. It's all about moderation. And if you can't do it, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
That's just a big, fat lie. And that keeps people feeling ashamed about themselves. It
Yep.
keeps them from being empowered to know what to do. It keeps the food industry free of responsibility. And it's one of the most unfortunate narratives that we have. And then we get this whole body positive movement. And I think it's important for people to feel good about themselves.
Yes.
But the whole idea of healthy at any weight, there are some for sure that are healthy when they're a bigger size. But the truth is, when you look at the biology of it, only 6.8% of Americans are metabolically healthy. Meaning that means do they have normal blood sugar, cholesterol, blood pressure, they're not overweight, and they don't have heart disease. Like, that's 6.8% of us. That means 93% of us are somewhere in the spectrum from normal to prediabetes, to diabetes.
And what you're here to say is it's not your fault, because the way that food is manufactured, it is addictive.
Yeah.
And it is screwing up your body chemistry, and it is causing like a whole litany of things
Yeah,
that you aren't even thinking that my diet and the way that processed food is getting metabolized is causing this inflammation that makes my brain not work right, that impacts focus and energy and mood and sleep and all of these things. And all of your work points to the fact that one of the places that all of us can start is by just doing an experiment for 10 days where you stop the dairy, stop the gluten, stop the sugar, and you eat a colorful meal of whole foods and vegetables. 3/4 of the plate is vegetables, and have a protein. There is your homework for 10 days, and report back, everybody. because you've seen over and over and over again that in that small of a window, people have remarkable results.
Yeah. I mean, that's the key. Because if people go, this is a long slog and it'll take me years, you're not going to want to do it. But if you for a short time reset, it's like, when your computer's just going and some program's hung up and that crazy rainbow ball, which I want to kill, is spinning around,
Yeah.
You just restart your computer and then all of a sudden it works. So this is like the restart and has enormous benefits because for the first time, people understand what they're doing impacts how they feel.
Yeah. I almost feel like this is like an oil change. We got to get that nasty ass oil out there and glug, 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 get your gut working right. Can we talk about the impact of the gut with anxiety and what's your recommendation? If somebody struggles with anxiety, what do they need to do to heal their gut and how will that impact anxiety?
Well, anxiety can be caused from many things, right? From, life stresses, from trauma, from environmental toxins, from your microbiome, from eating too much sugar. I mean, there's a whole list. So functional medicine is about getting to the root cause.
Yep.
And anxiety is a symptom. It's like saying I have a headache, right? Well, did someone hit you in the head with a hammer? Or do you have a migraine? Are you eating gluten? Did you not sleep enough? Did you have a hangover? Do you have a brain tumor? You have an aneurysm. Like, why do you have a headache?
Right.
So anxiety is just like saying I have a headache, or depression is like saying I have a headache.
Okay.
It doesn't mean anything other than what your symptoms are. The question is, what's the cause? And that is what functional medicine is so good about. And so the gut plays a big role. So, but I really just start with the simple lifestyle practices. Do a 10-day reset. Do some simple movement. Take a walk. Do some simple mindfulness practices. Do your take 5 or high 5.
Yeah.
I do take 5, which is 5 breaths 5 times a day. It's simple. Like before you eat every time before you go to bed, take 5 breaths in slowly, in and out for 5 seconds.
How the hell does that help?
It resets your nervous system because every time you breathe, you move your diaphragm, and your diaphragm is this place where the vagus nerve goes through. The vagus nerve is your relaxation nerve.
Yeah.
So how do you turn on the automatic parts of your nervous system that you don't usually think about, right? I'm going to make my heart beat at 62 beats a minute, or I'm going to make sure I have 14 breaths a minute, or your body just knows what to do. That's your nervous system.
You just need to find the switch and flip it.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing. So you can actually use your breath to reset your nervous system and to calm everything down and lower adrenaline, lower cortisol, lower all the stress hormones, and reset your system. But it doesn't take a lot.
I want to just come back to something you said in the very beginning. Over and over and over again, you're proving simple ways that your body is designed to heal itself.
Yeah.
So 5 breaths, deep breaths. Walk us through how you do the 5 breaths.
Just go take a deep breath in to 5 through your nose and 5 out. Do that 5 times. It's not that hard.
Yeah, but nobody
I just
does
did it once and I feel already.
I feel better too. And again, it's proof that if you do the right input, your body response.
Yeah, we're just looking out there for a solution. And I think it's like Dorothy in her ruby red slippers. She was running around Oz trying to find a way to get back to Kansas. And the truth is she had her ruby red slippers the whole time. And all she had to do was click her heels 3 times and get home. You know, I think we all are like Dorothy. We have ruby red slippers. We just don't know we have them and we don't know how to click them. And this is really what my work is about. It's what my book, Young Forever, is focused on. How do we activate our healing systems? Whether you're 25 or 75, you can activate these systems and feel better now and put yourself on the track for a longer, healthier life.
Wow. Let's talk about ADHD. And
what'd you say?
ADHD.
What?
Okay. I even fell for that. That was good. Let's talk about ADHD.
What were we talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about ADHD and the gut. How is healing your gut?
Oh God!
Helping with ADHD.
I got to tell you a story.
Tell me a story.
It was one of the books that I wrote, The Ultramind Solution, that had this kid's story. And it was what really got me on this track of thinking about writing this book. It was a 12-year-old kid who had severe ADHD when he was younger. It was in kindergarten on Adderall and kicked out of kindergarten. I mean, who gets kicked out of kindergarten?
Wow.
And just struggling at 12 years old. His mother was at her wit's end and, you know, some behavior problems and just struggling. And the mother brought him in and I did a full evaluation because I don't just say, tell me about your ADHD. I said, tell me about your bowel movements. Tell me about what's happening with this and that and the other thing. And it turned out he had asthma, he had irritable bowel syndrome, he had headaches at night, he had muscle cramps, he had anal itching, which is a clue about something.
Oh, okay.
It's often a sign of yeast issues or
Oh.
yeah. So he had all these problems. And he was on 7 different medications from multiple different
poor kid.
doctors, on asthma medications, on gut medications, on ADD medications, on mood medication. I mean, it was a mess. And his mother brought his handwriting in to show me before, and we can post this on your show notes, before and I started treating him, and then 2 months later after. And all we did was clean up his diet. Kid was living on junk food, never ate a vegetable in his life, massively nutritionally deficient. He was deficient in magnesium, which caused muscle cramps. He was deficient in zinc because he didn't ever eat any pumpkin seeds or vegetables. He had and his immune system was dysregulated. He had also B vitamin deficiencies. He was having gut issues with bad bacteria. He had gluten sensitivity. He had yeast overgrowth. He had a little bit of lead in his system.
Wow.
And all this stuff that was really easy to treat. All I did was basically take out the bad food, put in a whole foods diet, a little bit of an elimination diet we talked about. I gave him basic multivitamins, some fish oil, magnesium, and vitamin D, some probiotics, kind of reset his gut. And the mother brings him back 2 months later, and she said, not only is his ADD gone, but all of his other symptoms are gone. His migraines, his irritable bowel, his asthma, his skin issues, his anal itching, it's all gone. Congestion, sinus issues, all gone. And his handwriting went from totally illegible, these kids with really bad penmanship, to perfectly legible, perfect penmanship. And I didn't send him to a handwriting school. All I did was fix his brain by fixing his body, by fixing his gut.
I'm processing this.
Yeah, it's a lot.
No. I'm processing this because I have a visual to share with you listening to us. And then I want to tell a quick story because I'm starting to feel like ding, 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 ding with our own son. Mm-hmm. So the visual I want to give everybody, because it just hit me, is when somebody has an allergic reaction, like they get stung by a bee or they eat something that they're allergic to and their face turns bright red or, something swells on their body. That inflammation that you're seeing on the outside is the body reacting to something that it can't process.
Or that it
correct?
doesn't like.
Can you describe what an allergic reaction means medically? Because I then want to tie it to something that I'm now thinking about when it comes to the gut. So what does it mean when you have an allergic reaction? You have allergies.
Yeah. I mean, there's really 2 main kind of allergies.
Okay.
One is a true allergy. So if you eat peanuts,
Right.
your tongue swells up, your lungs shut down, you can't breathe, and you can die.
Correct.
You get anaphylaxis. That's a life-threatening emergency. A bee sting allergy, that's a certain type we call type 1 allergy, which is super fast, super quick, and you can die from it.
EpiPen people.
Yes, EpiPen people, right? Then there's the delayed sensitivity. It's not a true allergy, but it can create sort of low-grade long-term symptoms. Okay. So if you eat bread, you might have brain fog. Is that a true allergy? No. But is it sensitivity? Yes.
Yes.
Right? And I think people don't have, I know, for example, if I eat dairy that's from a regular feedlot cow, I will get congestion and snotty immediately, and I'll probably get pimples the next day.
Yep.
But if I have, for example, sheep or goat products that are from regenerative sheep that have A2 casein, which is non-inflammatory, then I don't, right? So it's really not so much about the type 1 we're so much worried about. It's all these other types of food reactions that are slow and delayed and create this low-grade inflammation that creates all these symptoms for people.
Yes. So I wanted to bring that visual in for everybody because I think it's really helpful. When for me personally, I don't know if it's the dyslexia. I just don't know if it's because I'm a visual learner. I love to have something I can think about visually to help me process large amounts of information. And so when I think about my husband, for example, who's allergic to bees, he has an EpiPen. I wish he would carry it around a little bit more. But when he gets stung with a bee, it's not life-threatening, but it's scary.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me a couple of years ago, I wonder if these sensitivities and these allergies that people have to food that may not cause swelling or redness in your face or breakouts or whatever that you can't see, I wonder if all of this is screwing up the way that our body is able to function.
Absolutely.
And it interferes with your body's way to function. And so when you think about it like those kind of type 1 ones that, and you just explained it, like if you have a sensitivity to wheat, or your body just can't handle the big company manufactured foods because of the chemicals and the dyes and the crap that are in it, it is causing your whole body to have almost like this reaction,
smoldering inflammation.
this smoldering inflammation, just like a bee sting causes Chris's face to blow up. And so when you think about it that way, it makes so much sense to go, holy cow. If you just simply were to switch your diet from all this processed crap, grab and go, and you were to put on your plate a little bit of protein and 3/4 vegetables, it would probably calm your body down and your thoughts down. And here's what I'm going, holy fuck, this is crazy. Because our son, exactly what you're talking about, Oakley in 4th grade was diagnosed with severe dyslexia. The kid could not read. He was so like blah, 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 that he literally snowed everybody for about a year. And then they got to the point where you can't just raise your hand first and make something up, and that makes people think that you read it. And the math problems are getting harder, so you can't. So the gig was up. Cannot read. It looked, honest to God, like he was writing with his feet. His dysgraphia was so bad.
Exactly.
He could not sit still. So we pull him out of public school. We put him in the Carroll School outside of Boston. Fortunate enough to get him in there only about language-based learning. And they immediately medicate him for ADHD. He hated the meds. But it was the only way he could sit still in class. Fast forward to about 8th grade. He starts advocating for himself. I'm not eating meds. I'm not taking these meds. I'm not taking these meds. I'm not taking these meds. We're like, fine. But if we get a report from school that you are bouncing around the classroom and you can't sit still, we're going to have to find a different solution. This school happened to have a cafeteria where all the kids ate, and it had a whole like food healthy options. Like there were no unhealthy options. There was the salad bar, there was the homemade soup, there was a protein. He gets into 9th grade. When I tell you this kid is a totally different person.
Yeah.
His handwriting is different. That's what made me think of this.
Yeah.
His ability to focus is different. He has not been on meds now for 3 years.
Yeah.
You would not know that this kid had severe dyslexia. No. He is just, I don't even know who he is. It's like destroying it in school. He is present.
Yeah.
And he eats vegetables.
Yeah.
Like he has a totally different diet.
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting here going, holy shit. Like the kid used to eat mac and cheese.
Oh, yeah.
Chicken nuggets.
That'll do it.
Don't put a vegetable on my plate.
That'll do it. Yeah, it's really true. And it's like,
and I'm just processing this because I'm like, I think this is a major part of why he is transformed.
And Mel, it's not just ADD. Everything that goes on in our brain above our neck is governed in the same way. We may not have such severe symptoms. We may not have asthma. We may not have severe ADD, but we may have fatigue or brain fog or just, depression.
The science shows that we make decisions in our body first. Our brain is just interpreting the signals that our body is telling us. And so much about making decisions that are right for you is about learning how to read the signals in your body, how to feel your way into it, and finding the courage to move in that direction, even though your brain might go, whoa, 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 whoa. Everybody in your family went to UMich. What are you doing? Whoa, 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 whoa. You can't transfer. What are people going to think? Whoa, 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 whoa. Get a divorce? Are you crazy? We're Irish Catholic. People don't do that here. Whoa, 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 whoa. You mean apply to nursing school after you're divorced? People don't do that. You can just do that? Yes, you can. And the more that you realize that there is so much magic for you to discover in your life, but it's going to require courage. And I'm going to prove to you that your instincts are always right. The problem isn't your instincts. And that's why I don't want to talk about trusting them. I want to talk about the fear that you have in following them. Because 9 times out of 10, when you truly tune in and you allow yourself to feel the decision, it's going to require courage because it's going to disappoint people. and it's going to require a change, and it's going to require you to learn something new, and it's going to require you to step away from the pack, and that's freaking terrifying. And that's why we don't do it. Speaking of this metaphor of the 2 tours, I have an incredible story to add to this, but I need to hit pause. Let's hear a word from our sponsors. When we come back, I want to dig into this idea of other voices with 2 stories that will really bring it home for you. So stay with us. Welcome back. I'm Mel Robbins, and we are talking today about finding the courage to make decisions that feel right for you. And we all know we need to, but it's really hard to do it because it requires courage. And I was just explaining this metaphor about a college tour and this university that separated parents from students, and how that frees a student up to consider a school and consider their decision without the energy of their parents or the influence of it. And as we were talking about this before the taping as a team, everybody at the table had a story about other people's voices or their own concerns being the cacophony that was causing doubt. And Amy, you had an amazing story about when you used to run a marketing and copywriting agency. And you have to tell this story.
Yeah, sure. So my story is that I was in a mastermind, which is kind of like a tour, a bunch of people together doing things with their businesses that that they want to do, achieving goals together and patting each other on the back and like supporting each other. So one day I showed up at the mastermind and I said, you know what, you guys, this is what I'm going to do. This is my next big thing. I am going to make what I made last year in this next month.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I had heard that this was like it's a thing that people do. I mean, it's not like it wasn't my idea. I had heard it from somebody else. And it was just, if you want to take your business, and at the time I did, I wanted to take my business to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really believe in yourself and you know, or want to find out what's holding you back, you know, try to make what you made last year in 1 month.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So since we're talking about gut instinct, when you heard somebody say that you can make a quantum leap if you're willing to find the courage to go, that's it. Next month, I'm making what I made last year, next month in my business. Yeah. Did you feel it in your gut? Like, what was the process of even going, I'm doing that? Because that's pretty courageous and bold.
You know, I see how you say it's courageous, but at the same time, nobody made me do it. It was my decision. And I, you know, if I didn't do it, everybody would say, oh, well, of course you didn't. Good try. You know,
but I meant when you heard about it.
Yeah.
Was there something that happened that you remember that was like, ding, ding, ding,
yeah.
I'm doing that?
Yeah.
What happened?
I just felt like I want that. Quantum leap. That sounds amazing. That sounds like living life. You know, that sounds like I'm going to be in a different spot and that is going to change me. And I think I'm going to really love that.
It's almost like, if you think about the tour analogy, it is like the future where he's like, no, come over here.
Exactly. It really was. It was like, this is your next step. And it's a big one.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're running your copywriting and marketing business.
Yes.
You go into this mastermind.
Yeah. All these people that are supposed to be supporting me.
And what happens?
And dead silence after I announced that. Everybody was just like mentally regrouping from what I had to say. And it was just like total silence. And I said, well, I mean, I've heard other people do it, you know? And I was just like, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
And not because I wanted to know what they thought, but I just was kind of like, why is everybody so silent, you know? And then the voices started talking, and the voices of everybody in my mastermind group. Well, how are you going to do that? I never heard of that before. Why would you want to do that? You can't do that. You need a longer runway. You can't do it next month. How much did you actually make last year? Like, what are you thinking? What is this going to do for you? Why would you want to put that on yourself?
And when that started happening, what did you feel?
I felt like assaulted almost, you know, like in the sense that I knew that this is what I needed to do. I knew that this was right for my future self. And I couldn't believe that people weren't supporting me and couldn't see that I could actually do this. I really couldn't believe that people were holding me back from it. But there was this one woman. I will never forget her.
What does she look like?
Her name is Richelle Wright.
Okay.
She is an American Sicilian. She lives in Michigan. And
we love her.
She is a ball of fucking fire.
Okay.
And she said, I think everybody should back off because Amy's actually going to do this. And she basically told everybody to shut up.
She's like, I'm taking a different tour. Amy, with me.
And that's what happened, Mel, actually, because when she said, really, one of the things that she said that I remember is, if she wants to do it, why wouldn't you let her try it? Like, why are you guys trying to convince her she can't? And I love that, because if I could do it, it meant they could do it. And if I could do it, it meant we all would be a better group because I did it. But look at what they did instead. They just said, no, you can't. Maybe because they didn't want to have to do it.
Did you do it?
I did do it.
What?
I did do it. I'll explain to you what happened. I committed to it, and I'll never forget this. 2 weeks into my commitment to myself and my group, even though they could care less, except for Richelle Wright, I got a phone call from a current client that said, he's a creative director and he and I work for him and we kind of work on jobs together. And he said, our mutual client has asked me if you would like to write 10 ebooks in the next month and, name your price because she needs this and she knows you're the person to do it. I will never forget. I was on Route 684 around the Mount Kisco exit and the phone rang. And as soon as it rang, I saw who it was, and I was like, this is happening right now.
Oh, my God.
It was
love
super cool.
that.
Yeah.
I love that.
It was an amazing feeling.
Wow.
It was the feeling that I wanted, right? It was that feeling that I was like hoping I would have when I took on that challenge.
It's interesting because as you were describing this, I was immediately back in class with Mr. Brown going, you're not going to get in there. Mm-hmm. You better not get your hopes up. And I didn't have the Richelle right. I had to be that for myself. I had to be like, fuck you, fuck off, watch me fucking do this. And you have to do that for yourself because it's a gift. I remember we just started a walking group here in Southern Vermont this morning, and there were like 25 women that showed up, and there was this one woman that was super cool. Well, everybody was cool, but she was telling the story about how she recently went back to nursing school after getting a divorce. And it was because she had a Richelle Wright next to her was like, well, you want to be a nurse? Just go back to school. She's like, that's all you need to do? Mm-hmm. It is. Because when somebody says, just go back to school or just get the divorce or just change your job or just move, they are saying, come on this tour. Yes. And for that moment, you allow yourself to imagine what life would feel like. And that's what the yes feels like.
Yeah. And all those people in my mastermind group, they didn't want to be open to that. For me and maybe even for themselves too. I think we don't do that a lot. We don't say like, what's possible now? We say like, well, what's the next fucking thing I got to do?
It's so true. And that's why I love this metaphor of that moment of going on a college tour, because it is a moment where you contemplate very intentionally your next move. Mm-hmm. And we all have that opportunity in our lives at any moment.
Yes.
To basically go, okay, the tour I'm on is headed over here and it's these voices. And your story is about very loud voices chiming in, kind of the way I was with the annoying way on the Dartmouth tour. But I also can think about periods in my life where I was the annoying voice because my emotions were the emotions of all those people. But you can't, but you were going this way, but this is how we do things, but this, but that, but what are you going to do? But you don't know how to do that, but that. Like that was me during the entire experience of being in law school and being a young lawyer. knowing I don't want this, and yet being that negative voice for myself, like, but you can't do this, but that, but everybody's going this direction. But what are you going to do? You don't know what you're going to do. Then you better do this. And yet, you know. And here's the thing about life. I do believe that there is something specific that's meant for you. And I do believe that what's meant for you will not pass you by. But you will waste years, decades even, of your fucking life moving in the wrong direction because you will not slow down and tune into what you know is true. And you're afraid of it. You're afraid of it. That's why I keep saying it requires courage. And yes, you will ultimately end up where you need to go, but you can save yourself the headache, the heartache, and the breakdowns and the years that you will waste in the wrong direction. Do I regret going to law school? No, because it's a decision that I made, but could I have gotten where I am without it? Of course I could have. Of course I could have. And I didn't have to torture myself the way that I did.
Right.
And, if anything, I love this visual of the tour. I love the visual of like parents and, going off in one direction with their opinions and their agendas and like your mastermind group waddling off in that direction.
Yep.
And then there's another choice. There's the future you going, no. Come on over here. Come on over here and let's just take a tour of what life could look like. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I think in even finding the courage to allow yourself to imagine it.
And that's the part that I was saying, when you were like, oh, that was really brave. It was like, yeah. And if it didn't happen, like you're saying, it doesn't even mean it has to happen. If it didn't happen, I would have still learned a lot. I would have grown a lot. And I would have known what it's like to feel the support of somebody like Richelli was for me in that moment. And that would have been great for me to know. And it would have been okay, even if I didn't make it. And I think that that's why I wasn't really that scared, because I knew that I would learn so much. And it did happen for me, and that was great. And I absolutely feel like it was a fast forward button that I pushed in my life.
I love that. Oh my God, you have the courage to push fast forward.
Fast forward. And of course, when I was in that fast forward moment, I had got a lot of work. I had to write those 10 ebooks. And then after that, I got a ton of work. And guess who I turned to when I had too much work and I needed to subcontract?
Richelli.
She was right there. Part of the success.
Wow, I love that.
You know?
I love that.
And still, like, she comes up in my feed sometimes, and it's like my heart just glows when I see her name, because she's behind me. And
you know what's cool, everybody, is I want you to also realize that you may be on a tour with your own negative voices, or a tour with critical voices, or a tour with parents or friends or family that's influencing you to stay somewhere that you know you're not meant to stay. The second that you break from that tour and you join your future self, you catch up to a tour of people that are on the same path.
Oh, and I just got the chills when you said that, because that's what I always wanted from life, is like my people that I know that have the same vision, that I can support, that are supporting me. To me, that's really living, right? I always look around and say, like, I remember being in grammar school and looking at my class and being like, we're just random people in here. Like, we don't really belong together. Even your family sometimes, right? Like, you're just random people. And I always love to be in the company of other people that are just in the same jet stream that I am, you know, like in the same, on the same inner tube, kind of.
Yes. You know, it's interesting though, because I think it's more often than not that the voices that you're hearing are the ones that you're making up. So as we were talking this morning as a team, Cameron on our team was also sharing a story about how she applied to Indiana University and knew immediately as she was dropping, not for me, like way too big. It's too far away. Fuck.
Yeah.
And the voices that kept her there were her own concern and fear. Same as me in law school. What are people who transfer are losers. What are people going to think? You know, they're all going to judge me. And the truth is nobody is going to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And she even, when she was telling that story, her dad said to her, well, you can transfer. And she just swatted that away.
It's like, I'm not transferring.
I'm not doing
People
that.
are not going to do that. That's your own story. Same thing that I did to myself in law school. And that sets up the story I want to tell you, because I think whether you identify with Amy and you have people around you saying you can't do that, or you identify even with the experience that Oakley's with, where everybody's weighing in on the decision and everybody's asking and there's a ton of pressure and you got to just tune it all out. A lot of us struggle with our own voices, our own insecurities, our own fears. It's not even that other people are telling you what to do. It's that you're so busy looking around and being concerned and making up stories about what other people are thinking and about your own emotions that you can't, A, settle yourself down and be honest with yourself about what's actually not working and what you really want. And B, Lord knows you can't find the fucking courage to do what you know you need to do. And for me, that is Mel Robbins circa 1990 to 1990. Shit, it was a long time. It was 1999. 9 years of my life. I was on a tour listening to my own insecurities. And let me tell you what happened. In fact, when I was our son's age, I was an emotional wreck. And that's one of the things that I want you to understand about decisions, that we make decisions, like it or not, with our emotions, that you feel your way into every decision. And I'm just going to prove this to you really quick with some science before I tell you about circa 1990 to 1996 Mel Robbins, okay? There was a famous researcher named Damasio. He's still alive. I don't know why I'm calling him in the past tense. And he had this incredible body of research. It's literally one of the most cited studies in decision making, where he basically figured out that we don't make decisions with our brain. We make decisions with our body. And I'm going to give you a super simple example. I don't need to explain the science. We will link to it in the show notes if you want to read all this stuff. But Damasio is the guy that everybody cites. But I'm just going to give you an example out of your own life. If you are sitting at a restaurant and you're looking at a menu, how do you make a decision about what you're going to order? Now, for some of you, I know you're like, I got to wait till everybody goes last, and I always order last, and I got to see what everybody else does. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at a menu, and let's just say you're like, okay, do I get the pizza? Do I get the burger? Do I get the wings? Or do I get the salad? Ultimately, there's this subconscious moment where you drop out of your head into your body and you ask yourself this question: what do I feel like eating? What do I feel like eating? Now, I realize if you're the person that goes last, I'm often the person that goes last because I like to eat a lot of different things. So I like to wait and see what my husband has ordered. That way I know that I might order something different, because that way I can feel like eating two different things. So it sounds like I'm using my mind, right? Not really. Because by the time it gets to me, what do? I go, oh, he had the burger. I feel like the salad. You always consult how you feel. Do I want to go to that party tonight? I feel tired. Nope, I don't. And oftentimes when you have to make a decision that is for your higher self, you got to push through negative feelings, don't you? You got to join in with the future you that knows that getting out of the house and going to the party, once you get there, you're going to feel great that you went. It's getting out the door that doesn't feel good. You got to step onto the tour away from your feelings and with the future you. You got to be your own tour guide at times. So I'm going to go back to that thing that happened at that school where they separated the parents and the kids. Why? Because that school's smart enough to know that when a kid is around their parent's energy completely fucks with the kid's energy. And the kid starts acting in a way that will make their parents happy. And the kid starts turning around and going, what do you think? What do you think about this? How do you feel about this? Instead of tuning in, how do I feel about this? That's what you need to ask. So let's get back to Mel Robbins, the disaster when it comes to trusting your gut. So when it came time for college graduation, I didn't have a job. And all of a sudden, everybody scatters. Nobody tells you this part about college, that you're like with this pack and then boom, everybody scatters. And you're like, oh my God, where's everybody going? I didn't know what to do. I just panicked. And so I became such a reactive decision maker. Remember how I said, if you're not careful, your emotions make the decision for you? My main emotion was, I'm fucked. I don't want to be left behind. Oh my God, I don't know what to do. And so I just lurched at my boyfriend. He had a job at the Fed in DC. I went with him. I get there. I have no idea what I want to do. So I go get a temp job. The first job they put me in is working for a big law firm in Georgetown. I spent the first 6 months of that job sitting in a windowless conference room in Georgetown, working on a class action lawsuit where a bunch of states were suing some garbage bag company that had claimed that their garbage bags were biodegradable. And apparently, according to these states, they weren't biodegradable. So I was part of this huge lawsuit as a just little, I don't even know what you call it. I was in a windowless conference room filled with boxes of paper. And I had in my hand this thing called a Bates stamp. And a Bates stamp is like, you know, when you go and you travel somewhere and they like stamp your passport, it's the exact same stamp, but it numbers and dates paperwork. And I hand stamped boxes of paperwork every day, all day for months. I hated that job. I had so many paper cuts. I was bored out of my mind. The only thing that I looked forward to is that if I worked 10 hours a day, they gave us $30 for dinner. And so I worked every day to get that damn free dinner. And I just stamped and stamped. And I swore to myself I would never, ever work in a law firm. But then something happened. Everybody I knew started applying to graduate school. And I thought, I don't want to be left behind. Emotions. Did I ever stop and intentionally go, what do I want? No, I did not. Why? Because I was looking around. I was on a tour with everybody else. I was so busy going, what is everybody else? Do they like this school? Are they going to school? What am I doing? What are we going? Where are we going, everybody? I don't know. And so I applied. Where do you think I applied, everybody? Law school. Even though I knew deep down, if I fast forwarded and I looked at what my life would look like, every single lawyer in that law firm was freaking miserable. You could tell they were miserable people. I was miserable there. I knew that I wasn't going to be happy, but I was so driven by my emotion. I just started doing and reacting and panicking, and I followed everybody else. Because everybody else in that windowless conference room, Bates stamping, they were applying to law school too. I'm on the tour with these people, so I'm going. So I get to law school. And here's the funny thing. I got waitlisted. And I knew I was relieved. But again, the emotion, I'm on the tour with everybody else. I'm not stopping to consider what's actually going to work for me. And so I do everything I can to get off the wait list. And I go and I get to law school and I'm like, I hate this. I hate this so much. I get panic attacks before I go to school. Maybe that's a sign that this isn't a place for me. Not for Mel Robbins. Why? Because I'm still on a tour with everybody else. I'm still sitting in these classes with everybody else who seems to like this. I don't like this at all. I'm having nightmares at night. I'm having panic attack after panic attack. Do I quit? No. Why? Because I am not able to center myself. I am so overrun by emotion. I am so overrun by turning around and going, what do you think? What do you think? Should I quit? Should I not quit? What do you think? No, you should stick it out. No, you shouldn't quit. I don't know what I'm going to do. But here's what I did know. I knew that I didn't want to be a lawyer. I knew that I didn't see a future doing this. But I kept at it. Why? Because I was so influenced by everybody around me. And it's almost like when you step into a current like that, it's like jumping in the Colorado River. You start a major and all of a sudden it takes you down the river. And it feels impossible to swim against the current, but it's not. It's not at all. But it takes courage, doesn't it, to say this isn't for me. It takes courage to go, I don't want to work for a law firm or the attorney general this summer. In fact, that freshman year, there's this kind of infamous story about me that I got a job with the Michigan attorney general after my first year of school because, again, I didn't know what to do. Everybody seemed to be doing this, and I didn't want to swim against the current. Why? Because it takes courage. But I got into this job, and here I am, driving 45 minutes each way from North Muskegon, Michigan to Grand Rapids, Michigan. The entire drive, I was so anxiety-ridden that I don't remember commuting for an entire summer. I was that out of my body. My whole body was like, no, 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 you don't want to do this. I would go into the attorney general's office and I would sit and talk with the other interns most of the day. The attorney general pulled me aside and gave me this huge research assignment and said, I want you to do a research project, Mel, where you research all of the recidivism rates, meaning the rates of return to jail among people, felons, because I want to kind of understand what types of crimes have people returned to jail. I want to know the recidivism rates so we can understand what programs are working and aren't working. I didn't crack a book. I didn't do the research project. I ghosted the Attorney General of Michigan. Near the end of the summer, I walked into work. I got called into his office. I made up some lie about how the project was going, and I left. I ghosted. I quit. I literally ghosted before ghosting was a thing. I'm not proud of this, by the way. I, again, was undiagnosed with anxiety, undiagnosed with trauma. I was in the wrong place, and my body knew it. And that's the other thing. If you continue to go on the group tour and you continue to ask people, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? You will waste decades of your life doing the wrong thing. And ultimately, your body and your spirit will have such a revolt that you will be forced to confront the truth, which is you were not meant to be doing that thing. And you knew it, but you stuck with it because you didn't have the courage to do something else. And ultimately, I didn't have the courage. I graduated from law school. I ended up getting a job as a public defender. I actually loved that job, oddly enough. But we then moved to Boston, and I was back in a fucking law firm. I could have worked anywhere else, but I was back in a fucking law firm. Why? Because it seemed like the easy thing to do. That's why I'm saying that trusting yourself, slowing down enough to go, wait a minute. How do I feel about this for real? Do I really see myself here? If I fast forward and I go on a tour with my future self, I take myself on a tour of my life. Is this the life I want? Because if it isn't, you will know. And that's why I keep saying it's going to require courage. And what ultimately happened for me is I didn't get courage. That's not even something that I can tell you that I got. What happened is I got pregnant and I had a baby. Her name is Sawyer. She's now 24 years old. And when I was on maternity leave, I had such a mental health breakdown that I finally got clear that I could not go back to that job. And that's all you need. See, you don't need to know what direction you need to head toward. You don't need to know where it's leading you, because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. That kind of clarity I hadn't had yet. I just finally had the courage to say, I can't do this anymore. The gig is up. And remember what I also said? You hear the no louder than the yes. And so if you're sitting here going, I got to take, my future me has to take me on a tour. I got to tune out what my spouse thinks, what my boyfriend or girlfriend thinks, what my family thinks. I got to fast forward and I got to ask myself, do I picture myself in this life a year from now? And if the answer is no, you damn well better get on a tour with the future you and start feeling out what do you want to do. And all you need to know is not this, not this, anything but this. Anything but this. And so I said, anything but this. And then you get into reality. And it's amazing what happens when you have a problem to solve. See, you're a great problem solver. if you give yourself a problem to solve. And the problem that I had is, okay, if not this, then I got to find something that'll pay me $60,000 a year because I got a mortgage to pay and I don't have a trust fund. And if I can find something that I can do for $60,000 a year that's not the law, I've just won the jackpot. And so I took myself on the tour with the future me who was not working in a law firm. And I'll tell you what, I have never hustled so fucking hard in my entire life. It took me 4 weeks flat to network my way into a job that paid $55,000. And that was good enough for me because I figured I'd do odd fucking jobs for $5,000 to cover the difference. And that's how I started to find the courage to follow what was true for me. So whatever wake-up call you're having right now, because I think you're probably realizing there's an area of your life where you are literally kind of surrounded by loud voices, whether the loud voices are your own fear or your own story or the voices of your parents. I remember when we were going to move to southern Vermont, and one of the things that I was really worried about is my mom and dad. Because my mother-in-law lives here and, you know, we're going to be living close to her and my folks are in Michigan and I know my mother does not like this state for various reasons. And I just thought, oh God. And, you know, to their credit, they have been very supportive of the move, but I was on the tour with them, weighing the decision instead of being on the tour with myself. There's my dog barking. I can hear him in the background. We're up here above the garage in southern Vermont. And so you got to notice, when are you turning around going, what do you think? When are you realizing that you've taken all these other people on the tour with you when really you need the future you to go, no, come on over here. Let's just kind of time travel forward. Let's consider this decision of going back to nursing school. Let's consider this decision of stopping the crying and stopping looking backwards. And we're not doing that anymore. Let's consider what it looks like if you start to like put your life back together. Let's do that. And it's not easy. I'm not saying this is an easy thing to do. I'm saying it's the thing you need to do. There's a difference between something being easy and something being right. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for checking this video out. And if you like this one, I have a feeling you're going to like this one too. I'll see you there.